down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. It's an open mic night for photographers. Get ready for 60 minutes of your photography questions in real time with answers from your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, thanks for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman, and our discussion tonight is about when you should start getting paid for your photography. Stay tuned, and I promise to do at least 30 minutes of live Q&A at the end to answer any questions that you guys have. And in the meantime, please do me a favor, check in. The party's been going on for a while here in chat. For those of you that are just showing up at 6:30, we've got people here from all over the world, and I know there's a lot more coming in, so please check in, let me know where you're at. And in between listening for the next 10 minutes or so, make sure you're typing in some questions so that when I get to the Q&A, I've got lots of stuff for you to discuss with me, okay? So, our question. I hope you're all paying attention because I know I posted this question yesterday in my Facebook group, and I posted it early today and let people know what I was going to be talking about, and I've gotten a ton of messages today. I had no idea this was going to be such a popular question. Hopefully, I'm not going to let you down. So, when should you start getting paid for your photography? You ready? I can answer that question in 4 simple words. So here we go. Get your pens ready. Get ready to type. Pay attention. The answer is, you should start getting paid for your photography when you are ready. That's it. You should get paid for your photography when you're ready. I know. What does that really mean, when you are ready? Because I know none of you are happy with that answer. All right. Take a breath. Step back. Let's face it. We've all met the photographer who has owned their prosumer DSLR camera for like 3 months. And because they got 50 whole likes on every photo that they post on Instagram, they're convinced it's time for them to turn pro and charge for every single time they click the shutter button. We all know that photographer. And then, many of us have also met that anxiety-ridden photographer who takes the most beautiful images, but they're afraid that they're not good enough because he or she only gets 50 likes on every photo that they post on Instagram. Not to mention, I hear photographers all the time complaining about amateurs turning pro and making it clear that they feel that the idea of being a professional photographer should probably be the equivalent of being like a brain surgeon. They think that because they've jumped through all kinds of hoops and spent a ton of money to get a certificate, a piece of paper, that says they are a master photographer, they feel that nobody else has the right to call themselves a photographer unless they're willing to subject themselves to the same entire process. I'm sorry, but those photographers, they're just lazy because they don't want the competition. And thank God for most of us that photography is not the same as brain surgery, right? I mean, come on. And look, I could go on with all of these scenarios. So how do I help you find value in those 4 words, the when you are ready answer that I gave you? So the short and simple answer about making money as a photographer, and this is a photographer at any level, a beginning photographer or an experienced photographer. You have to do what you do. Do it to the best of your ability. And then find people that are dumb enough to pay you to do it. I mean, that's how creative people have earned money all throughout history. That's not a new concept. That's not a Joe Edelman concept. It's not a photography thing. It's a creativity thing and a money thing. You know, understand that not everyone will like your photography. Shocker, I know that's like a big wake-up call to some of you, but I'm sorry, they won't. And there's nothing that you can do about it. You can't make people like your work. So if you want to get paid for what you're doing, you have to find the people who do like it. They're out there. Some of them are those 50 likes on Instagram. Let's face it, if you have a big family, that takes up most of the 50 likes, and they don't count because they're never going to pay you. But the rest are potential clients, okay? So you're ready to get paid when you can find someone who sees enough value in your work to pay you for it, period. So understand, that's going to be different for different people. And I'm going to get to that. Don't worry. We're going to get a little deeper here because I know some of you are thinking, oh my God, like, was this a clickbait title? No, this is my real answer. Like, dead serious, okay? So, it's because of that, though, that some people are indeed able to get paid good money after just 3 months because they found people dumb enough to pay them. These photographers that shoot for 3 months with their prosumer DSLR and are making money, oftentimes, admittedly, if we're being fair, and this is not an insult, but they're better at marketing than they are at photography. And if that's the case, as far as I'm concerned, good for them. If their client is happy, because that's first and foremost, and if they got paid, it's not up to me or any other photographer to judge whether or not they deserved to get paid. So it is that simple. Now, let's think this through a little bit more. Let's dig a little deeper. You're ready to get paid for work when you have the guts. So this is the challenge. This is the, put on your big boy or big girl panties and suck it up here, okay? You're ready to get paid when you've got the guts to look somebody in the face and tell them what it's going to cost. That's it. And, part of that is because this is where so many people are afraid. They're afraid to take that step. And this is where even routinely calm people suddenly become filled with anxiety. It's the, what if they say no? What if they respond negatively? Oh my God. Come on. Remember some of those lessons that your parents taught you back when you were kids? The ones like, you don't get what you don't ask for. And what was it? The worst that anyone can say is no. No photographer gets every job that they bid on. Period. No photographer. I don't care how famous they are. I don't care how amazing they are. I don't care how experienced they are. Nobody gets every job. So if you are not prepared to tell someone what you're worth, then you're not going to get it. Period. So now, this is where a lot of people ask me, and I've even seen some of the questions go by in the chat already. This is where a lot of people will begin the question, what about working for free? Well, I'm just starting out. Should I be doing some jobs for free, or should I discount my rates so that I can get the first few clients? What's the best way to start? That's a great question that you're going to get a lot of different opinions, but I'm going to tell you what I did and what I still do to this day. 2 key pieces of advice. Number 1, when you reach that point in your photography where you feel, I want this to be more than a hobby. I want to make money with this camera. Now, it doesn't matter if your reason for making money is to be able to buy more camera gear, or if your reason for making money is to potentially be able to support yourself. Either one is fine. But I am a firm believer that before you start taking money, you do some jobs for free. You treat those jobs like they are the most important jobs that you have ever had, even though they're technically costing you money because you're not getting paid. The reason for doing that is very simple. The reason for doing that is to gain real world experience. In other words, experience where there's a client, somebody that you have to answer for, someone that you are taking pictures for that is not you. So you've got to make another person happy. Because believe me, that is a huge step in the growth of a professional photographer. It's getting over that hump of realizing that once you become a professional, it's not all about you. It's about your client. It's about what they want. So that means, if you're going to be a wedding photographer, you've got to learn to be able to deal with women on the most insane day of their lives. If you want to work with business people or even corporate business people, you have to learn that corporate business people are some of the worst communicators in the world. They expect you to read their mind. So if you don't get them nailed down on exactly what they want, you're going to go off and you're going to do something and they're going to say, no, 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 that's not what I meant. And then what do? This is all part of the life of a professional photographer. So you take out the opportunity, you take advantage of the opportunity to do some gigs at no cost, simply to get the experience. Then you turn that corner and you collect money. But here's the big mistake that people make when they finally get the guts to collect money. Okay? And gang, I promise you right now, if you poll 50 or 100 photographers, you may get 50 or 100 different answers to this question. But I promise you from the bottom of my heart, this is sound business advice, what I'm about to tell you. When you are ready to start charging money, before you take a dime, do the research. Figure out what you need to be charging as if you were a full-time professional. Now, how do you do that? Because I know a lot of people, in fact, I saw some questions go by earlier that people were asking me about, is there good software for pricing and all that kind of stuff? I don't believe in the software because I don't think you need the software. So I'm not going to lie to you. I cannot advise you on any software that's going to help you with pricing. I will tell you two excellent resources for pricing that I would encourage all of you to get involved with one of them because they come from organizations. PPA, which is the Professional Photographers of America, has an excellent set of tutorials and pricing guidelines that are available to its members. A PPA membership is worth it just simply for the equipment insurance that you get included as part of your membership. I should know how much it is a year. I apologize. Somewhere between $200 and $300 a year. One of you guys that are here I know are PPA members. Please type it into the chat room what the annual membership is for PPA. PPA, I'm sorry. But believe me, it's very much worth it. Or if you're looking at going more along the lines of commercial advertising photography and that, ASMP, that's the American Society of Media Photographers. Both of those organizations on their websites for their members have excellent pricing guidelines and utilities that will help you break it down and get a great understanding. That's not something I can even begin to give you insight into 10 minutes. But here's the tip. Even though you're kind of dreaming because you haven't done it yet, figure out from that very first client that you're going to charge money, what should my rate be? And figure it out properly. Never, ever say, you know what? I'll do it for $50 or I'll do it for $100, even though you know it's worth much more. And don't do it with the idea that I'll do it for $100, but I know full well that 2 years from now, I need to make like $2,000. If you need to make $2,000, that's your rate. Now, I didn't say you're going to charge the client $2,000, right? This is your first paying client we're talking about. You're probably not going to be able to get $2,000 or whatever it is. But you have to know what it's worth for a few reasons. Number one, you never want to, well, I got a whole bunch of numbers coming in here for PPA. But so bottom line, guys, depending on how you pay, it's between $200 and $300. Thank you guys for looking that info up. The bottom line is, even for that very, very first paying customer, you need to know what the value is. And then what you're going to do is you are not going to discount your rate. Never, ever offer discounts on your rates. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Once you have done a discount on your rate, you have taught your client how little your work is actually worth. So if you figure that you need $2,000 and you do that job for $50, why should somebody ever pay you more than $50 for that job? Ever. And don't think of that very first client as disposable. It's like, well, there'll be other clients. No, every client counts. Every client, while they may not be the ticket to your future, they may know somebody and make a recommendation to somebody that is the ticket to your future. You don't want that person saying to that future person, oh yeah, they're really cheap. I got them for $50. No. If you feel the need to do the job for $50, you are going to find a way to structure the pricing so that you're not giving them everything that you would give them for $2,000. You're going to give them a little bit less. You're going to take them things out of the offering so that you can afford to do it for $50. But you have to know the true value of your work. Now, with that basic outline being said, I know that some of you are still feeling disappointed because you want me to tell you, well, it should be 6 months, it should be 8 months, it should be a year, it should be 2 years. it's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different because some people are better salespeople than others, so they've got the guts to ask for money sooner, quicker, faster. But here's what I would give you as a moral criteria for charging money. And then I'll gladly take some questions and we're going to move on to Q&A. And I know that I've disappointed some of you, but it's as simple as this that I've told you. It really is that simple. And it's different for every person. So anybody that tells you, by the way, or any article that you read or any YouTube video that you see where they say, you got to do 6 months, you got to do this, that's the biggest bunch of crap. And the simple reason is everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody puts in a different amount of time and effort. And everybody starts with a different creative skill level. So no two human beings are going to be in the exact same situation as far as their learning curve. Got it? So there is what I feel is a moral obligation. So I mentioned those folks that feel that, you know, photography should be like brain surgery and you should have to have a degree and certifications and a license and all that crap. No, you don't. Okay? But what you do have to have is you do have to have some morals and some values. I'll give you an example, and this is one that I feel very strongly about. I am all for go for it and fake it till you make it. But you have to respect the importance of whatever it is you're photographing. So if you're photographing a portrait, okay, cool. Then fake it till you make it, because if it doesn't turn out, you can bring the person back again and do it over. At your expense, of course, but you can do it over. I've had people come into my Facebook group, and the members of my Facebook group will tell you that my responses were not nice because I believe very strongly about this. I've had people come into my Facebook group and post a question like, hey, I'm going to be shooting my first wedding this weekend. What's the best lens to use? Like, I'm not kidding. That question has been posted more than once. And then in my reply, I will simply ask the person, hey, have you ever shot a wedding before? Is this your first time? And they're like, no, it's my very first time. That's why I'm asking the question. I really thought you'd be able to help. And then the next question I have for them is, are you getting paid? Are you the primary photographer? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's why I'm so excited. It's my first wedding and I'm getting paid for it. I'm doing the whole thing. So here we are like 4 or 5 days before the wedding. This person's getting paid to photograph the most important day of this couple's life. And they have no idea what they're doing. And what are they doing to figure it out? They're on Facebook. Wow. That, to me, is completely unforgivable. That is the ultimate moral sin for a quote-unquote professional photographer. So the other piece of when you are ready is have the guts to look at yourself in the mirror and evaluate your work honestly. And if we're talking about shooting somebody's wedding as the primary photographer, if you can't sit here and tell me what depth of field really is and how to use it, if you don't understand how to use that high-speed sync feature on your flash without actually having high-speed sync, if you don't understand the inverse square law, in my opinion, you have no right taking the risk of photographing this couple's wedding for money. Do it as a second shooter. Do it as a backup shooter. Absolutely. But to be the primary photographer, that's unforgivable. Now, do people do that? Yeah, they do it all the time. Will people continue to do it? Of course they will. Joe Edelman is not going to stop them. But is it right? No, it's not. So, you know, the thing that you've all got to understand here about making money, it's not rocket science, gang. I mean, the straight talk is, I'm really sorry, because I know some of you are really bummed. You thought this was going to be like, you know, oh, finally, this is what I've been waiting for. This is going to tell me step by step how to do it. Nah, come on, wake up. Like, it's not that hard. It's simply not. You know, you make money if you're able to do what you need to do. And if you can't do it, then you can't do it. Don't kid yourself. But, you know, and believe me, gang, I'm all about technology. If you're a member of my Facebook group, you've seen the pictures of the setup that I'm sitting in front of right now. You've all seen my studio. It's on YouTube. I love technology. I love the internet. It's an amazing thing. But business, especially the business of photographing people, if you're going to do what I do, portraits or weddings or anything that photographs people, you've got to interact with people. You can't do that on a computer. So, you know, the whole I'm afraid to talk to people, I'm afraid to ask people, all this kind of stuff, like, get over it. If it's that much of a problem for you, then you shouldn't be looking to be a professional, gang. I'm sorry, but you simply shouldn't. So you're ready to get paid for your photography when you're ready. Thank you for listening, gang. I appreciate it. So let's move on, okay? I've seen a whole bunch of really great questions going by. I've also seen some really good comments going by. Man, we got a lot of people here tonight. Kenneth's here, Ray's here, Jarek, Robert, Melnick Studios, Adamos, Amanda. Hey, Amanda, Ezekiel, Raymond, Doug Thomas. I can finally see you this week. Troy, you're here. We missed you on Friday, Troy. Where were you? Taurus Studios is here. Kodak, Ramona, Kevin's here. A lot of guys. Thank you guys all for seriously spending another Monday night, especially it's a holiday for those of you in the United States. Happy Labor Day, meaning we had a day off today. How cool. I actually took some time off today. That's why I was not chatting with you guys really early tonight. I'm sorry because I'm always telling people, hey, I'm here early chatting, and I didn't get here until a few minutes after 6 tonight because I was running in from the picnic that I attended. But it is great to be here. Hey, just the quick reminder, please, if you would, hit that thumbs up button like underneath the video. And of course, subscribe if you haven't done it. We just hit 90,000 subscribers this week. Like, seriously cool. That 100,000 mark is right around the corner. Very much working towards that. Social media, of course, you can follow me. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the 3 big ones. And of course, comments are always greatly appreciated. So let's get into the questions and that. Oh, gosh, one more thing. Really, really important. This past weekend, new video on the channel, 10 tips to make your seamless backdrops last longer. Typical of many of my videos, there's a lot more than 10 tips about your backdrops in there. I promise you that, number one, you don't know all the tips. I promise you that. So you're going to learn something in the tips. Number two, there's 2 DIY tricks in there. One is for a counterbalance weight that goes on the bottom of the seamlesses to stop them from curling up all the time. You make it out of PVC pipe. Super, super simple. If you have a table saw or access to one, pretty much everybody, you know, if you don't have one, you know somebody that does. And as long as you're really, really careful, if you used 2 2x4s and the PVC pipe, you could use just a regular circular saw and do the same cut. Again, take your time with it, but you could totally make that work. And there's also a DIY tip for a storage tube. What most people don't realize about seamless backgrounds is the thing that makes them go bad more than use is humidity. Humidity is definitely not the friend of a paper backdrop, obviously. So people, and for years and years and years, I've heard people tell me, store them in PVC pipes. The problem with the PVC pipes is that they are heavy as all get out, like more than 20 pounds. And that's before you put the end caps on them. And they're also not cheap. A 4-inch by 10-foot PVC pipe is expensive. So I use Corex drain pipes, or like a corrugated pipe. They're flexible without the roll in it, but with the roll in it, they're stiff enough that you could stack them up. They don't collapse or crush. So, you know, you're talking like less than $7 to make a storage tube that works great. And the best part of it is when you put the caps on them, if you put the backdrop in the plastic bag, you're going to knock out all the humidity. And somebody in the comments, if you check out the comments underneath the video, someone asked me about, well, what if you rip your bags and you don't have the bags and that kind of stuff? I posted a link in the comments. You can actually buy the poly tubing, the same kind of plastic bags that backdrops come in. You can buy it in long rolls. So if you destroy your bags, or if you got rid of them and you're realizing, hey, that would be a really good idea, then you can go out and you can buy a roll of the poly tubing and essentially, you know, make your own bag. Harold, how do you switch background colors on a portable studio? You just switch out the colors. You got to give me a little bit more information than that. You just change the backdrop is how you would switch the colors. So, Taurus dudes, I do lay them flat here. Let me switch over the screen so you guys can also see the questions. I do lay mine flat only because I have a shorter ceiling too, but that's why I put them in these Corex tubes, because I can stack them if necessary. And the only thing, the worst thing you can ever do is to like lean them. Okay. That's the biggest thing. When you lean them, you're asking for things to sag. If for some reason you had to lean them, then I would actually encourage you, go ahead and spend the money for the PVC piping, because it is no way in the world it'll sag. It's too thick. But no, as long as you're able to stack them, you're totally fine with that. Okay. So, Benjamin Powell, I'm a young and starting photographer. Just turned 18. Congratulations, man. Good for you, okay? How should I be starting out my business? I have a camera, a D5300, and I'm trying to get my name out there, Powell Design Studios. Okay, so right out of the box, and I'm not going to do a whole marketing thing for you here, Benjamin, but you need to make sure you go back, watch my marketing videos. There are 4 videos in my YouTube channel about marketing, plus a bunch of talk chats. The Powell Design Studios, if you are strictly a photographer, that's a horrible business name. Design Studios does not say photography. So make it Benjamin Powell Photographer, period. Or Benjamin Powell Photography, done. You don't need a fancy business name. When you go do your website, don't use words like we. You use words like I. It's you, man, okay? If you're 18 and you're just starting out, and especially if you're not going to college, so if you're in a situation where like, hey, I've got to start making money, you're working with a prosumer camera. That doesn't mean like, crap, I can't be a photographer, I don't have a good camera. No. It means, though, you're clearly not shooting for that long. You need to get out there and shoot 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 and screw a lot of stuff up, man, and learn from it. On the business side, keep it simple. Don't be stressing about websites and marketing and advertising. If you can afford the $6 a month, build a basic website and use it as your portfolio to show only your best photography. Otherwise, work on building out the following on Instagram, on Facebook, etc. I work with a lot of kids coming out of college that are just flat broke. And I will consult them on how they can build their business, especially if they're doing portraits and weddings, how they can build their business working strictly with social media before they get a website up and running. So, but start, Benjamin, make sure you keep attending these talk chats, but start with those 4 marketing videos and then the marketing talk chats that I have been doing for a while. You'll be able to find them in the video list on my channel. They will help you out a lot, okay? Thomas Palmer, I'm going to bring the marketing videos back, not as talk chats, but I am going to do some marketing videos along the way. Unfortunately, nobody was watching the marketing talk chats. I mean, bottom line, I was lucky if I got 100 people watching them. And after we did the live, very few people were watching them. So, you know, unfortunately, there was no value in doing it. But there are some marketing topics that I will be dealing with as the year goes on. So, Matt Grindle, PPA is a yearly rate, but you can do it on a monthly payment. I think mine's on a monthly payment for some stupid reason, which I should change because, of course, it's cheaper. But yeah, so Colton Rowland, are you doing yourself a disservice by specializing in just food photography? You are only doing yourself a disservice if you want to do portraits, but you're shooting food or whatever the other topic is. If food is your thing and that's where your passion is and that's what you're best at, then that's what you should be doing. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of photographers that are just food photographers. That's what they do. You know, one thing when it comes to the specializing thing, just a little side note, since we're kind of talking to a lot of beginners tonight that are trying to kind of, you know, get things going. Understand that anybody can join PPA, anybody that's willing to pay the rate, okay? Understand that a good photographer can photograph anything. Now, does that mean that the portrait photographer is going to be amazing at architectural photography? No. But if, let's say, their best friend was selling a house and needed amazing pictures, if the portrait photographer is a really good photographer, they can totally handle doing a great job on the pictures of the house. So, you know, if I got called out tomorrow to photograph a building or to photograph food or that kind of stuff, yeah, I can do that, okay? But is that my specialty? Is that where my passion lies? Is it what I do the best? No, definitely not. So you're not doing yourself a disservice. Rolls the world. Hey, opinion on disclosing the price on a website, please. You're confused. Okay, so let me tackle this one. It looks like we're going to do a lot of marketing stuff tonight. So listen closely because I noticed as the chat's been flying by that there were other people talking about the website thing and prices. And I know for a fact that if you go and Google it right now, you will find some articles recently that were on some of the photo blogs, either Stoppers or Petapixels, one of them, about why you should put prices on your website. My response to that is those people are grossly wrong. And the reasons that they give you for doing that are lazy, stupid, and they're not all backed up by research. So I'm going to give you the answers that are backed up by usability research, plus some common sense and simple psychology. Remember what I said earlier? photographing people requires interaction. So when you put your prices on your website, you are allowing people to make a decision about you without ever having to talk about you. Okay? So that being said, that's definitely problematic. So how do you deal with that? What do you do? The way you deal with it is this. If you are in an area where you have got 5 other photographers that are shooting portraits and weddings. Let's say you're going to be a portrait wedding photographer. And these 5 other photographers all have their prices on their websites. That is going to be the exception to Joe's rule. It's not Joe's rule, but it's a marketing rule. Meaning you can't not put your prices on, but you're still not going to put your full price on. What you're going to do is you're going to put a starting price, and then from there, you encourage people to contact you. If none of your competition is putting prices on, you do not get any points by putting your prices on there. So your goal on a website is not to get people to hire you. That's not what a website's for, not for a photographer. The goal on a website is to get people interested in you and then contact you. It is your job to get people to hire you. And by the way, gang, questions are coming in fast and furious tonight. You guys are like cooking. So I'm going to run out of time. And you know I always go over time, but I'm still going to run out of time. If you've got a question that you really need answered, that little $ down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, that's a super chat for $1 on up to $500. So just so we're clear, if it's a question about a Sony A9, that's $500, okay? But for $1 to $500, you can do a super chat. I will stay here till midnight if I have to answer all the super chat questions, okay? But I promise to try and get through as many of these questions as I can. But prices on the website, no. Go back to the marketing videos that I did. Go back to the TogChats that were about marketing that I did. And I explain it in a lot of details. No prices, okay? If you're in a market where everybody's putting their prices, you put a starting price and you encourage people to get it here. Here's the thing. Putting your prices on your website is not, and this is why these people that have just recently written this about, it was just on one of the blogs. This is why these people are so stupid in what they're telling people to do. And I mean, it's outright stupid. You can quote me, okay? They're encouraging you to get people to make a decision without you, period. Instead of busting your butt to take photography and photographs that are so incredible, people will pay whatever the hell you want. Okay? During night, they don't have a super chat that is big enough to deal with high-speed sync. So, James Brown, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. So, all right, let me scroll back here and get some questions. Nick Burton, have to factor in extra costs like travel. Yes, you actually do for prices. Ezekiel, what's your opinion about Omega reflectors? Basically reflectors that has a hole in the middle made by Westcott. Generally shoot portraits. Seems like a nice tool to have. You know, they're nice. They're a gimmick, but they're nice. Yeah. I will tell you this about Westcott. Westcott's never going to sponsor me, right? I've said this many, many times. I'll continue to say it. Great gear, obnoxious, rip-off prices. Westcott stuff is grossly overpriced. Grossly. So is the Omega reflector nice? Yeah, but you know what? You can go out to Walmart and you can make one for $1. Like literally, you could make a DIY Omega reflector for like nothing. And Ezekiel, if you are good with sewing, or if you can use a sewing machine, or if you have a girlfriend or a wife that can sew, dude, go to Amazon, buy like a cheap Korean Neewer reflector for like $12, and then cut the middle out, sew a seamed edge around it, and you're done. Why spend all that kind of... I mean, you all do realize that Omega reflector, I get it, it's got some modifiers and crap that you can put on, but that's not why people buy it. People buy it so they can have the reflector with a hole in it. So go buy a freaking big reflector and cut a hole in the middle of it. What's so hard about that? And if you want it to look all pretty, you either learn to sew or you find somebody that can sew and you take some batting and sew an edge around it. Done. Like, so you realize they're charging you a gross amount of money for that reflector. That's my problem with Westcott. So I don't support Westcott. I'm all for companies making money. I'm all for companies that make great products making good money because we want them to continue making great products. But the problem with Westcott is their products are not so much better than everybody else's that it's worth spending that kind of money. Just absolutely not. So, And they, of course, I'm sure hate me because I'm sure somebody will send them this. But that's how I feel about Westcloud. So nothing wrong with their gear. It's just hardly overpriced. So let's see. Harrell, opening a portable studio, going by bus. I don't want to carry lots of backgrounds. How can I use more color backdrop styles on the go? Harrell, gosh, you've got to catch up on my videos, man. You must be a new subscriber. I have a video. Let me see. Is it on the front of my YouTube channel here? Because I don't want to go through the whole channel. Look for it. Yeah, it is here. Let me switch over really quick to the screen. Let me bring this up. So if you go to my YouTube channel, there it is. It's the one that's got me doing the crazy stuff up at the top. Okay. First of all, this video that I just posted about seamless backdrops, it mentions it, but if you scroll down the page, right there, best color backgrounds, okay? And I'm going to show you two videos here. This one talks about using gray and turning it into all different colors, just simply by putting gels. And then I have another video in the DIY section. Let me see if I can get it through the show more here. DIY backgrounds and a portable background stand. This is using cloth that you can purchase in a fabric store, which is both inexpensive, really easy to transport because it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's the same size as the 53-inch roll seamless paper backdrops, but it's cloth, and so it's much easier to work with. Watch those videos. They will solve your problem for you, okay? Let's see here. Where are we at? EJC Photography. Are permits and licenses needed to be a professional photographer? I hear a lot about photographers needing some type of permit to work. So, universally, no. Locally, depending on where you live, possibly. Generally, where permits and licenses come into play, it's, wow, look at all these super chats. Guys, thank you so much, man. Troy Hall, I appreciate it. April, thank you very much. April, I'll come to your question in just a second. There we go, Troy. Thank you, man. Oh, Doug, gosh, I missed yours too. Doug, I'll get yours in a minute too. And FedEx Freight. My God, you guys are like on it tonight. Okay, so back to this question about permits and licenses. Generally, you need permits and licenses. For instance, if you want to go shoot in a park, a lot of municipalities require you to have a permit before you can set up a light stand or set up a tripod in a park. If you're going to use a public building, you frequently need either a permit or a release from the property owner, that type of stuff. So that's going to vary dramatically from area to area. That's the key to that stuff. So you got to look into that. So Doug Thompson, why the big fuss for LED lighting? Tell me the advantages versus... Okay, Doug, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal. I promise I'm going to answer this question. So this is what I'm about to do a whole series of videos about, and you want me to give away the beginning of it tonight. But I will, just for you guys. So I'm about to start a series on LED lights. If you're not a member of my Facebook group, you don't know that, but now you do. So Doug, I promise you, before I sign off tonight, I'll give you my full take on that question. But let me leave that to the end, and then that way I can kind of tee up the videos that are coming. So I promise I will talk to that. FedEx Freight. So, you know, portrait session pricing, I'm going to be honest with you. Part of my answer is going to be the same answer I already told you. PPA, ASMP. You know, the bottom line with pricing, the biggest mistake people make, they think that, hey, somebody's willing to pay me $100. That's $100 for an hour of my time. Holy crap. I've never made $100 an hour in my entire life. Well, guess what? You're not making $100 an hour. Because what you have to figure in, the way you work out pricing is you've got to figure in how much time did you spend talking to that person before you actually picked up the camera? How many times did you email? How many times did you talk? How much effort did you put into your website or your Facebook page that made them find you in the first place? So you were in the studio for an hour taking pictures. How much time did it take you to edit the pictures? Remember, editing is not Photoshop. Editing is the process of culling, meaning I like this one, but I hate this one. Then, how much time did you spend in post-production? Did you have to give them proofs? If you gave them proofs, how did you do that? Did you post them like on a SmugMug website? How much do you pay a month for SmugMug? How long did it take you to upload them to SmugMug? Once they're up on SmugMug, how many emails did you have to send back and forth with the person while they're making decisions, etc.? So by the time it's done, you didn't make $100 an hour. In fact, for $100, you probably made about $6 an hour. So that's the joke with, you know, looking at it like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, okay? The way you do pricing is really pretty simple. You have to start at the top. What do I need to make it worth my while? And then you have to look very honestly at what are all my expenses. And expenses are not just the time with the camera here. And obviously, the way your customers look at it, they're paying you $100 an hour. So part of what a professional photographer has to do is oftentimes they have to educate their clientele. Hey, you think you're paying me for $100. I mean, you're for 1 hour for that $100. Let me explain to you what you're really paying for. And then you start to roll out that list. And then people get it. Obviously, you do it politely and thoroughly, but, that's kind of what you're looking at too. So, April, is it bad marketing to use the same 2 or 3 models for conceptual and beauty shoots? I'm not a fan of a portfolio. If I look at a portrait photographer's portfolio or I look at a wedding photographer's portfolio, remember, a good portfolio for marketing purposes shouldn't be 50 pictures. It should be like a dozen, maybe 20, if that. Okay. So in that smaller group, I don't like when I see the same face over and over again. Some people do that. I'm not a big fan of that because I feel that the subliminal message there is that you're saying you haven't worked with a lot of people. I mean, you guys know from my YouTube videos, I have a couple of models that I will work with over and over and over again. But the simple math is they're local. Like, for instance, the young African-American girl, Monet, that I work with, she's beautiful. She's a hairstylist by trade, and she does makeup. So I can bring her in and have her do her own hair and makeup, and it's adequate for what I need to show off for a YouTube video. When I bring my makeup artist in from New York, I'm spending a minimum of $500 to get her here for a day. So, for me to bring in a makeup artist and spend $500 to do 1 or even 2 YouTube videos, that's really difficult to justify from the standpoint of, marketing myself and doing all that kind of stuff. So ideally, I would encourage you, for your by all means, work with a girl 2, 3, 4 times, but I would encourage you for your portfolio, 1. So Andre is in Santa Monica? Yeah, man, you're there. So have you officially, I'm sorry guys, I'm running off here. Andrea is an actor / photographer from Rome, Italy. And I know he was planning on moving to LA. So hopefully you guys can all say you knew him before he became really, really, really famous. Okay. He's actually been in a bunch of movies in Italy. And I know he got all his visas and everything. I knew he was planning to move. I didn't know he was there. So Andre, if you're here, awesome, man. If you're in Santa Monica, I am wickedly jealous. Try not to spend too much time on the beach at Venice and on the pier. Amazing. But it really sucks that all of your other gear didn't get here. So hopefully that's going to show up soon. Wow, I'm really bummed to hear that. But seriously, welcome to the U.S. I will be looking forward to making a trip out to LA so that hopefully I get to finally meet you. So, all right, so let's move up here. Mike Edwards, have I ever considered designing or creating my own line of photography accessories and light modifiers, obviously with the intent of not gouging photographers? Yeah, actually, Mike, I do it all the time. It's my DIY videos. And I have to be honest, if I ever did it, I think I'd rather do it more along the lines of what David Hobby does with LumaPro. If you go to MPEX, Midwest Photo Exchange, they have a couple LumaPro lighting kits that are pieces that David Hobby's put together, and they sell them actually at a discounted rate. What I could not do in good conscience, because I think it's hideous, is what Westcott and Peter Hurley do. Those LED lights that they sell, what is it, $5,000 for that kit? That's just obscene. It's absolutely obscene. And the fact that obviously they're charging a premium because it's got Peter Hurley's name on it, I feel bad for the photographers that are dumb enough to buy that because it has Peter Hurley's name on it. I don't want some photographer buying gear because it's got my name on it. Why, as any photographer, why do you want to be like somebody else? That's why I start off on my rants about zombie photographers and, everybody's got to use high-speed sync and everybody's got to shoot at 1.8. This guy on YouTube says, why would you buy a 1.8 lens and not shoot at 1.8? This guy over here says, high-speed sync, overpower the sun. And everybody's got to do it. Why? That's just so boring. So, no, I appreciate those thoughts, but my DIY things, that's my brand. It's I'm all for, believe me, guys, I get gas just like the rest of you do, okay? And you know what kind of gas I'm talking about. I love gear, but I also don't believe in just throwing money away. And so I'm really thankful for the way that I got started in photography, that I couldn't afford to just throw money away. But believe me, I wanted gear. So I figure out ways around stuff. And yeah, so I don't think you'll see my name on too much gear, but maybe down the road some kits where I'm basically saying, hey, I think you should this is a good kind of combination. But believe me, if I ever do that, there'll also be a lot of why behind it, a whole lot of why. Unlike what a lot of these manufacturers are doing, I don't want people buying it just because I use it. I think that's the worst thing in the world. So, Raymond, welcome to the first live talk chat you made it to. Awesome. So, let's see, Melnick Studios, is it reasonable to charge companies and that more because they'll use them for advertising and stuff? Absolutely. I mean, back in the day, all pricing was structured based on intended use. A lot of photographers at the higher echelon still do that. And it's totally appropriate. I'll be honest, for me, I never wanted to work that hard. I didn't get into photography to have to chase clients and say, oh, you used my picture for this, so you owe me this much. And, oh, I saw you use it for this. Good. I need this much. I don't want to do that stuff. So as much as it's oftentimes, it's not as much of an issue today. 15, 20 years ago, when I would say this, literally photographers would give me like the death stare. I don't mind work for hire at all. Work for hire is basically where somebody needs you to take a set of pictures and you quote them one rate and basically they can then do whatever the hell they want with those pictures. I'm fine with work for hire. I want to take pictures. I don't want to run a business any more than I have to. Okay. So I've always been okay with the work for hire thing, but indeed, part of pricing especially when you're dealing with corporate work, it is based on intended use. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, let's see where we go. Let me scroll back here. What else we got? Julie, good. I'm glad my timing was good. So, yeah. And so now I'm sorry. This is a perfect example. Julie, I hope you're still here. I said that you should never discount your rates, right? And I got sidetracked. You guys got to keep me on track more. There was all these great conversations going and I completely fell off of that. Gosh. So here it is. The thing about not discounting your rates, I will absolutely work for free before I will discount my rates. And I do it frequently. If there's a gig that I really, really want to do, but I know that people don't have the money, if I think it's going to be an awesome gig, I'll find a way to make it work where maybe they're just covering my expenses or that kind of stuff. And I'm literally going to do it for free with stipulations. It'll be stipulations about how the pictures can be used, et cetera. So one of the things you can do, Julie, if you want to stay, if you're just getting started and so you're feeling that, gosh, I just don't know, I'm just getting ready, and I'm not sure that I'm willing to go over the hump, I'll give you the easy out. And it's a great easy out to use a few times. Do not get comfortable with it, but it's a great one to use for a few times. Since she's insisting she wants to pay, you simply say, listen, I'm flattered. I had a blast photographing you, but I'm just not at the point where I feel comfortable setting prices. So I'll tell you what, you pay me whatever you think it's worth. If she gives you $5, you make it look like it's the greatest $5 you've ever received and you thank her and you move on. If she gives you $500, you make it seem like it's the greatest $500 you've ever received and you thank her and you move on and done. But you just say, hey, give me whatever you feel it's worth and I will be incredibly flattered and very appreciative. You'll be surprised how much people will pay you when you do that. Certainly you can't build a career that way and you're not going to be able to pay your bills that way. But if you're right kind of at that tipping point where you're just getting to that point where you need to start, but you're still not sure that your work's there or you're feeling pressure from that, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just don't make it a crutch where you just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Remember, anytime you're working for free, you've got to be getting something out of it. And anytime you're working for cheap, it's got to be something that you really, really want to do. So that's the caveat to that, okay? Let's see. Equalsano, it's a question. I'm starting to get sick of Lightroom and thinking of Capture One Pro, but is it worth the huge money? Well, it depends on what you like Lightroom for. If you like Lightroom for the image cataloging capabilities, that is not what Capture One Pro is for. It does image cataloging, but that's not really what it's designed for. And Capture One will tell you that. That program is designed to be a raw processor, period. And it's an amazing raw processor. So if you're looking at it strictly for its post-processing capabilities, then sure. But I would make sure that you understand this. Number one, you already figured out there's a price tag. You can do a monthly subscription now, which you couldn't before, so you don't have to pay for it all up front. Number two, though, there's a learning curve. Just because you're really good at Lightroom, I promise you, you are not going to just turn on Capture One and start working seamlessly. No, it's a learning curve. Number 3, there are features that you can get in Lightroom that you can't get in Capture One, especially some of the retouching tools, like, you know, that kind of stuff. Now, I hate using Lightroom for retouching. I always go to Photoshop, but a lot of people do their basic retouching in Lightroom. So there are trade-offs. That's the problem. So depending on kind of what kind of photography you do, how much you shoot, all that kind of stuff, understand that one of the biggest reasons people get upset with Lightroom is not because of its capabilities. It's because of its drawbacks regarding system resources and the fact that it's just a resource hog and it's slow as crap. It's not greatly written software, meaning it just hasn't progressed, okay? There is a fundamental design flaw in the way Lightroom is meant to work with its catalogs. They get too big and they slow it down dramatically. So that's kind of really what you have to be evaluating there. But it's not an even swap where it's just like, oh, cool, Capture One's better. No, it's a matter of why is it that you are getting sick of it? What is it that you want to get out of the other program? Those are the things you've got to look at here, okay? Let me just scroll down, make sure I haven't missed any super chats coming in on the bottom. Let's see here, where are we at? No, so let me scroll back up here. Try and get some of the early ones, and I'll come back, okay? Let's see. We've been there. My God, you guys got a lot of chat going on here tonight. When does one become a professional photographer? Is it when they sold pictures? Audible, no. Watch my video about what does it mean to be a professional photographer, okay? And that'll answer that for you in great detail. So I'm going to send you back to that video. It's on my YouTube channel. What you can do, the way you can find any of my older videos, couple things, gang. You can click on the little video tabs there, and that'll take you to like just all the videos, but there's like 200 and some of them. Or hit the little magnifying glass. Oops, sorry, I'm telling you all about this and you can't see it. My apologies. So when you're on the YouTube channel, either click on the video tab, and that's going to take you basically to all the videos in chronological order, starting with the newest one first, etc. Or to find that video about being a professional photographer, click on the little magnifying glass. A little box will open up here on the right. Type in the word professional, and it'll bring up every one of my videos that has professional in the title. And there's not a lot of them, and you'll be able to find the one that's called "What Does It Mean to Be a Professional Photographer?" And that will help you out with that. Colton Rowland, how do PPA and ASMP differ? Basically with their missions and who they support. PPA is Professional Photographers of America, and it is primarily portrait and wedding photographers. I say primarily because there are advertising photographers. There's all kinds of different photographers in it, but that's basically their mission. ASMP is the American Society of Media Photographers. That is focused on primarily commercial advertising photographers. So ASMP is really kind of a much smaller niche. PPA is a much broader group. For most of you that are listening to this broadcast, PPA is going to be the group to look at. Awesome, awesome group. Outstanding educational materials available on their website, outstanding educational programs. In the various states, there are local and regional PPA groups also. Every year they do Imaging USA, which happens in January this year coming up. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. As a PPA member, you get to attend your first Imaging USA for free. So if you join PPA now, all you need is a hotel room and an airline ticket to get to Nashville, Tennessee in January, and you can attend the conference at no cost because it's your first one. So that's another thing that makes PPA a really, really worthwhile membership. With ASMP, you get excellent resources. The quality of your ASMP experience will really depend on how good your local ASMP group is. For example, here in southeastern Pennsylvania, I know for a fact the Philadelphia ASMP group, so it's Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey, is a very good, very active group. A lot of members that are very involved and really, really help each other. That's not the case in all groups. So that's kind of really the key there. But for most of you, it's going to be PPA. Okay. Let's see here. Go back up. Robert Arias, I'm doing more retouch work than photography now, but it's a nice way to work / know what the most important photographers in their teams in my country. Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool. If you're doing retouching, good for you. If you're serious about photography, I have a feeling that you're actually a retoucher, and that's cool. But if you're serious about photography, do not become a Photoshop-tographer. I've got a video coming out real soon that's going to talk about what that means. Do not become a Photoshop-tographer, okay? Melnick Studios. I call my company Melnick Studios because I shoot photo, video, and provide AV services, etc. So Melnick Photo wouldn't work. Joe, any suggestions? Whatever your first name is, I would put your first name in there and make it about you. If you have 6 employees, then yeah, that's okay. But I am hardcore and unforgiving. Photographers are one person. They hire you. So even if you have 3 assistants, they're still hiring you because you're the guy going click. Okay, so that's what people care about, and that's a big part of how people are going to make their hiring decision. We would like to think it's because your work is better. No, a big part of their hiring decision will be because of you. So whenever possible, get your name involved. That's the key. So Christopher, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate the super chat. So Pamela Maxwell, would you ever enter contests on ViewBug or Guru Shots? Hell no, because I can get more likes than that on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. Let me give you just a tiny little bit of background. I gave up entering contests when I literally was in my early 20s. And that was because I realized that there were people judging my photographs that were judging my photographs based on antiquated standards and based on their own taste. And why the hell do I care what they like? I don't. So, you know, when I pick up the camera to take pictures, I'm not taking it because somebody else said it's got to be this way. I'm taking it because I like it this way. So, you know, hey, I like winning a contest just like anybody else. I like getting a like just like anybody else, but I'm not into that. So my advice would be, if you enjoy it, absolutely go for it. Please do not use that as a metric on how good your photography is. And definitely do not use it as a metric on should you be looking to turn pro. The overwhelming majority of the photographers who are on those websites entering contests are amateurs. And I'm not saying amateur like it's a bad word. I'm just saying let's keep things in context. So just because you're winning a bunch of contests on one of those websites against a bunch of other amateurs, and I get it, some of those amateurs are amazing. I understand, but no, okay? Contests do not translate to money in the bank in any way, shape, or form. So I would say, you know, strictly it's just a matter of do it if you want to do it for fun. Richard Gibson, my answer for best place to get equipment insurance, PPA. I'm not kidding. You get $15,000 worth of equipment insurance free annually as part of your membership, and you can add more to that. So Mr. Music Studios Photography, what is the purpose of a model release? Well, that's kind of simple. Basically, when you take a picture, the moment you go click, literally the fraction of the second to click, you own that picture. You own the copyright to that picture. That is provided by law in most countries in the world. What you don't own is the ability to use the likeness of the person who's in front of your camera. That person must give you a release to do that, hence a model release. So you can't just go take a picture of somebody and then use it without having a release. So that's the purpose of a release. Linda Gardner Photography has been taken for quite some time. Can buy it for $8,000. God, do not spend $8,000 on a domain name. Ever, ever, ever. But don't have the business yet. No. Went with LG Photography and LGphotography.com. Is that the worst? Linda, that's not the worst. But, you know, there's other domain extensions. You could buy lindagardner.photo, lindagardner.photos, lindagardner.space. .space sponsored some of my marketing talk chats. .space is a domain extension that's becoming known amongst creative professionals. So there are other extensions that would work. And keep in mind, you don't have to be quite so literal with photography. What about lindagardnerphoto.com, right? Or I'm just going to pick a letter. Let's say your middle initials S, whatever it is. You know, maybe you're doing Linda S. Gardner Linda S. Gardnerphoto.com. I would not do Linda S. Gardner Photography if Linda Gardner Photography is already taken. But there are other domain extensions you can name. The reason why I'm so adamant about using your name, it's simple branding. It's basically branding 101. The idea is, you know, you are the business. You are the brand. Not your website, not some fancy name, you know, all that stuff. It's you. You want people to know your name, okay? That's really the key. So, Christopher, thank you for the super chat. So, for on-location outdoor senior portraits, do you prefer on-camera flash or off-camera flash? If off-camera flash, do you prefer speedlight versus strobe? All of the above, Christopher, which doesn't help you. So let me break it down. I literally use all of those scenarios. For doing outdoor senior portraits, the key to, do you use flash, do you not use flash? It really has a lot to do with your personal taste, which has a lot to do with your style. So I have a video about selecting your style. So if you're new to this photography stuff and you're still trying to kind of figure out your style, go watch that video, because you shouldn't be trying to figure out your style. That's a really bad idea. Okay, so since I'm talking about style, I don't want to send you down a wrong path. Please go watch the video I did about finding your style. That being said, if your style is all natural light and it's soft and simple lighting, then using off-camera flash is not going to be that flattering. If you're one of those zombie photographers and you're all about overpowering the sun, so you want to use high-speed sync and shoot at 1.8 all the time, well, then you're probably going to find that you'll be a lot better off camera than on camera. And the difference between speedlight and strobes is really going to come down to a matter of how you like to work. So the simple comparison between speedlight and strobes, the simple comparison, we can get into nitty-gritty for hours. The simple one is strobes are generally more powerful, but they generally run on AC. You can use external battery packs, unless you're using like some of the Godox ones that have the lithium battery packs that go in them. Speedlights are not quite as powerful, and they don't recycle as fast. So while they work on batteries and they're easier to transport, if you want to be able to go out and do 50, 60 shots in a row without having to pause and wait for it to recycle or cool down, speedlight's probably not going to be the way to go. You want to look at a strobe. So it's going to decide on which is going to be your kind of preferred method of shooting, and then that's going to determine which piece of gear. You should never, as a photographer, you should never create your shot because of the gear. You create the shot because of your creative vision, and then the gear is the solution to the problem. And if you don't have the best gear to solve the problem, you have to find another way to solve the problem. That's how in the 1970s and 1980s and the 1990s, we shot nice, soft, creamy bokeh and overpowered the sun without high-speed sync. It's really not that hard. But so you choose your gear based on what your needs are and what your preferred style of shooting is. Okay. Robert Arias, what about just using your name? Sure, you could just use your name. My website's joeedelman.com. It doesn't say a damn thing about photography. I'm a big believer in the work until people know your name philosophy. But that requires the key phrase in that sentence that I just uttered was the bad 4-letter word, work. Okay. You work until people get to know you. And so I'm a big fan of that. You don't have to have the word photography in at all. I like short domain names whenever possible. There's nothing wrong with having the word photography in, but yeah, I have a feeling that unfortunately Linda Gardner is probably a fairly common name, that.com is probably gone too. So maybe you could indeed, Linda, add your middle initial, that type of thing. But try to keep it no matter what you do, try to keep it as intuitive as possible. That's really going to be the key, but make sure your name is involved. Okay. Let's see. Let me scroll on back here. I think I missed a couple. Robert Julian, there's a great question since we're doing a lot of marketing stuff tonight. Let me hit that one. Well, first of all, Robert, I'm glad you found me today. Welcome aboard. If that's the case, and especially if you've never seen my videos before, you've got about 220 of them to catch up. So I don't want to hear a peep out of you until you're done, okay? But with regards to your question, what is my opinion regarding digital files as part of the product for deliverables? I have no problem giving people digital files at all. Here's the one thing we have to understand. Especially for older photographers, my age, the ones that are about to become, old and dinosaur-like, that kind of stuff. When digital technology came around, late 90s, early 2000s, I was totally one of those people. It's like, give you a digital file? Ha! Never in a million years. You've got to be kidding me. Because that was the equivalent of handing out a negative, right? The world's changed, guys. The world's evolving. Most of your clients, they want digital files. They don't give a damn about prints, okay? We can do all the arguing about how important it is to have prints and have tangible memories, yada, yada, yada. I know all those sales pitches that are being used. I'm not, sorry, I don't give a damn about prints. I don't. My work is for computers. That's where it goes. My photography today, it goes in videos and it goes on computer screens. I'm fine with that. I don't care that it's not hanging on a wall somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that you should think that way, but the point is people want digital files. If you are preparing those digital files properly, like, for the folks that are going to put them on social media, those digital files are not going to cut into your print prices or your print sales. They're just not, okay? If you want to be able to make lots of money selling prints today, you've got to be shooting images that are worth people printing at 36 and 48 inches and hanging on a wall, which means you're creating art. So, but beyond that, yes, just, you give people the appropriate size digital files. You don't give them a high resolution, 16-inch printable file if you expect to sell prints. You give them a 72 DPI, 1000 pixel file that if they try to print it, it's going to print out much smaller. And if they try to enlarge it, it's just going to pixelate and look like crap. But that's also stuff, by the way, that, Robert, should always be negotiated before you press the button. That should always be part of the pre-sale discussions. And if there's a contract, it should be part of the contract, all that stuff. Dick Romaine, thank you, man, for the kind words. I really appreciate it. Glad you're here. So, Ed Francis, kit, courses, or travel tickets? Which offers the best value for learning photography? I'm guessing the answer will be travel, but I'd love to know your opinion. Kit courses or travel tickets? Oh, I see. So should you buy more gear? Should you take classes or should you travel? Oh, hell yeah, man. Travel. Okay, shoot. You don't even have to travel. You can go out in your backyard, but shoot. Absolutely. I mean, we all love gear. Yes. Okay. Classes are nice, but classes are not going to make you a better photographer. No class, not even one of my classes is going to make you a better photographer. Only you can make you a better photographer. So, yeah, if I'm picking out of any of that, oh my God, I'm taking travel in a heartbeat. Okay. So, Linda, yeah, a lot of times if you do that line, pay me what you think it's worth, you'd be amazed what people will. And that's something, by the way, that's not a Joe Edelman idea. If you pay attention on the news, a lot of restaurants do that now. It's kind of a really cool thing. Not a lot, but there's a bunch that do that. And they find that they actually make more money by doing that. So by no means am I even suggesting in a million years that any photographer builds out a business that way. That would be a really dumb plan, okay? But again, there is this kind of, for lack of a better phrase, there's this like purgatory phase that you go through when your work's getting better and you're salivating and you really want to charge money, but you're not sure because you're not done it yet. And it's like, how do you get over that hump? One of the best ways is basically do it for free or for next to nothing. But you treat it like it's a real job. And then when you get that client, if you're lucky enough, it's like, no, I got to give you something. Say, well, listen, I'm just not comfortable yet. So give me what you think it's worth. And I will be happy with whatever you give me. And again, whatever they give you, even if they give you, because remember, once you say that, if they give you $1, you can't look at them like you freaking cheapskate. That's not right. You look at that dollar like it's the most important dollar you've ever earned. And it is. Okay? Because if nothing else, you've learned, I don't want to do it that way anymore. Okay, so the next time you're going to go do your research and you're going to have a price. So it's a win-win any way it goes. All right. So let's see here. Animus Art, do you think having t-shirts with your name on it would be a good marketing idea when shooting outdoors? Nah, not really. People care about your photography. So better yet, shoot outdoors and get people to come up to you and say, hey, what are you taking pictures of? This, that, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing, but I see a lot of guys on Facebook, even with some smaller YouTube channels now. It's kind of humorous. I'm not going to name any names. You guys go figure out yourself. But there's a couple guys out there now that they think they're pretty hot stuff, with their marketing because they've got baseball caps and they've got T-shirts with their name all over them. And they've got a YouTube channel with like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers. And basically they've got one trick that they do. And so all their pictures are exactly the same. And they're trying to teach all these YouTubers about what they do. And everybody's got some value to play. But when I watch them, I realize like how much money these guys have spent on stuff that is of absolutely no value to them. It's no value to what they're doing on YouTube. It's no value to their learning or improvement as a photographer. It's no value to their marketing. And if you ask them, they're going to tell, it's branding. It's branding. No, it's not. Branding is one of the worst words that has crept into the English language because branding has become an excuse for doing stupid stuff and spending money. That's it. So, it's not that it's bad, but it's not going to make any money. It's just not. So, Thomas Palmer, workflow video will be coming when we get into the fall, probably October. So I know you're anxious. And I've mentioned a few times. It'll be coming in October. So, but it's coming, I promise. Okay. Nick Britton, most of your gear is secondhand. So yeah, man, good for you. That's how I started. I mean, I absolutely started with secondhand gear. So William Seaver brought the Tokina 100. Awesome. It is, man, it's a sweet lens. You're going to love it. I absolutely love it. So, Casper, what do you think about those lighting kits? Is it worth it to purchase a kit or buy separately? Most of the time, it's not worth it to purchase a kit unless you can look at that kit and everything in that kit is something that you're dying to get. Like, you'll absolutely use it. I find that more often than not, parts of the kit I have no use for. So it's like, okay, I'm getting it cheaper than the list price, but I'm also getting things that I really don't have a need for. So then no, the kit's not worth it. Okay. You just really got to be honest with yourself about what are you getting in the kit. You know, that's the key. Okay. So yeah, that's the challenge there. Okay. Let's see here. Let me back up, see what we missed. Marcos. Marcos is my guy with the deep meaning of life questions. I know he works hard to come up with these every week. So Marcos, you got a good one this week. So here we are. Real quick, Kodak 54 white vinyl backgrounds. Yes, I love them. They're great. They're heavy as all get out. So if you're going to use white vinyl, I would recommend hanging it from the wall or the ceiling, not on stands. And if you're going to put it on stands, they better be heavy-duty stands or even like auto poles that are really locked down solid. But yeah, vinyl's great, okay? So Marcos, how we as photographers can develop the creativity skills considering this can make the difference among us. Oh, Marcos, that's actually an easy one. I've talked about that a lot lately. Right there. That's how you can develop the skills. You got to shoot, man. Literally, you got to shoot. You got to force yourself to look at the world differently. If you guys, here, let me bring it up here on the screen really quick, and I'll switch over. If you guys are following my Instagram channel, that is not my regular Instagram. It is an Instagram that I made for my iPhone, and since I talk about it all the time, I wanted to show some proof that I actually do take pictures every single day. And these pictures are not the kind of pictures that you're used to seeing from me. So I'll put a link to this in the description below the video. It's not there right now. But many of these pictures are just everyday objects. This is the top of a soda cup in a pizza place where I had lunch with my wife the other day. This is the top of a pump of hand sanitizer. It's one of these, but a green one. And it's a light behind it that was in my bedroom. This is the seam on a pair of jeans. This is a plastic water bottle with water in it held in front of my laptop screen with that bokeh pattern on the background. This is in the stall in a men's room. It's the paper towel holder and it's the key slot. Okay, everyday objects. So how do you build your creative skills? You got to force yourself to look at the world differently. So for me, this same process helps me when I'm photographing models and photographing people. If I'm trying to do a creative beauty shot, the challenge is, what can I do that's different? How can I approach this in a different way, a unique way? And that's the ongoing challenge. Otherwise, you're just taking the same picture over and over and over again. So that's one of the great things about having smartphones is that technology is with us all the time. It's readily available. It's easy to use, but you have to choose to use it. That's the real challenge. If you don't choose to use it, it doesn't help you. So Steve Wilking, the popular places for having prints made, I get no prints made. So I will tell you that some of the bigger labs in the country are White House Custom Lab, Bay Photo. Those are probably two of the biggest. But I'll be honest with you, I am not an expert on best print quality out there, so I don't even want to try. The few times that I get prints made, there is a lab in Maryland. They're right outside of Washington, D.C., kind of between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. It's called Nations Photo Lab. That's who I use. I really like their work. Their prices are reasonable. They have great turnaround time. Their customer service is really good. But they are on the smaller scale of labs compared to some of the big ones like Bay Photo, et cetera. So there's a lot of labs out there. I see you guys talking about alternatives to tether tool cables. Regular USB, yeah, you can use regular USB cables. That's not a problem. Just make sure that you know, are you USB 2 or USB 3, and does your camera support that? That's a big piece of it. Okay, so my view on logos, good or bad, Nick? No sense in getting a logo unless you have something to make it worth having a logo. A logo doesn't make you look more professional. A logo is not going to get you more business. No. So, Mark Anderson, I do not have a pricing guide video because, kind of like the answer I gave you guys at the beginning of the video tonight, you won't like my answer. Down the road, I may do that, but I'm not kidding you. I find that most of the pricing guides that are available for free online, they're a joke because they're very specific to that author's experience, and they're not broad enough to help most photographers. That's why I recommend PPA or ASMP. The pricing guidelines and structures that they give you are outstanding, and you can apply them to your business as opposed to, you trying to fit the mold of this photographer who's written this article. So it's not that those articles are bad, but they're only good if you're doing the exact same thing that photographer is doing. And if your market is similar, that's the challenge, okay? Melnick, yes, it is a good thing that had no reflection. So, all right, I've got to scroll up here. Last question of the day. I promised Doug that I would come back to his super chat, and it's a super chat, so I got to do it, okay? There it is. So, why the big fuss for LED lighting? Tell me the advantages versus strobe speed light and portraits in a studio. All right, so first of all, full disclosure, I mentioned that I mentioned this in a live feed the other day. I'm about to start a series of videos about LED lights. I have gotten my hands on recently 3 different sets of LED lights. Obviously, I have my my good DIY ones that I made. And I also have one of the Yangwano kind of ice light knockoffs. So there's basically these 5 different LED light scenarios that I'm going to show you. The ones that I've gotten my hands on, one is the new lighting system called Specular, which is really cool. It's the modular one. If you're a member of my Facebook group, you saw the post that I made about it. The other is from Savage Universal. They're called Edge lights, which are actually really cool. And another one is actually from Smith Victor, and it's a ring light, but it's a very versatile LED ring light. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to release a video that's basically talking about exactly what Doug just asked me, and that is the difference between continuous lighting and strobes, and when should we want to use one over the other, and why should we care? Is there really a difference? Which, of course, hell yes, there's a big difference. But then my goal in looking at these other 3 LED systems is to figure out what they're really best for. Because here's the problem that I have. And now, this is all secondhand information that I'm about to spout. So please cut me a little wiggle room here, okay? Because I may have only gotten part of the story. So I'm being completely honest with you. Apparently, Mr. Lanier did a live feed today or yesterday about a new rotolight that is like a strobe as well as an LED light. And I may be wrong if it wasn't today. I don't know. But apparently this just happened. And apparently people were trying to get him to talk about the fact, could you overpower the sun with it? Is it bright enough? And all this kind of stuff. Okay. So let me be clear. Obviously, it's not a big secret. I don't agree with a lot of the methods that Mr. Lanier uses for teaching. But if this information that I got secondhand happened and people were dumping all over this rotolight about, is it good enough for this? Is it good enough for that? I have to feel sorry for Mr. Lanier. I have to feel sorry for the people at Rotolight. And I have to say that the photographers that were so upset about that, grow up, wake up, and learn a little bit about photography, for Christ's sake. There is no one light that's going to do freaking everything. There just isn't. So the fact that I'm going to start talking about LED lights, am I saying to anybody give up your strobes? Hell no. Absolutely not. I will say LED lights are the future. I will say that LED lights will potentially replace strobes because LEDs have the ability to be strobes. So as the technology gets smaller and cheaper down the road, will speedlights and studio strobes potentially go away? Yeah, and that'll be a cool thing when it happens. But is that happening today? Is any company today, do they have a piece of equipment that's going to eliminate the need for strobes? No, not at all, okay? But, and this is a huge but, is there an argument that for a lot of photographers, you don't need strobes? And is there an argument that for a lot of photographers, they would be better off starting with LED lights as opposed to strobes? Oh my God, yes. And is there an argument that for a lot of photographers who have strobes, they could actually teach themselves a lot more about lighting if they would go back and use some basic LEDs? And even better yet, learn how to use LEDs in combinations with the strobes and vice versa? Absolutely. So I am at the point right now where I do feel that LEDs are being severely underlooked and underrated in terms of their value to the photographer. And that's not because these 3 companies have given me some stuff to play with. No, I've been using LEDs for ages, guys. I did my DIY LED video a year ago. So you can't accuse me of like, oh, you know, he's saying this because, no. I'm not saying this because anybody's giving me money or anything else. I'm saying this because I've been using LEDs for over a year. I'm a big fan of them. But I'm using them realistically. First of all, why the hell do you need an LED light that's going to overpower the sun? I mean, why do you really need that? And at Equinox, I saw that one that was on one of the photo blogs today, that Photonics one. The problem with that is it's crazy powerful, but there's a couple problems. Well, number one, anytime you see a strobe that needs a heat sink on top, you know that's a problem. But number two, it's also stupid expensive. So it's definitely technology headed in the right direction. Yes, it's totally technology headed in the right direction. Is it the solution? No. What it is wickedly powerful. It's like 2,600 watt seconds or something. It's crazy powerful. But there's not a photographer that's watching this broadcast right now that needs a 2,600 watt second strobe. There just isn't. Sorry. Maybe there's some that want some. Maybe there's some that think they need it. There's nobody that needs one. That's insanely bright. Okay? So, you know, it's all a matter about being realistic. And so my first video, Doug, and for the rest of you, is going to deal with, look, what really is the difference between these 2 types of light, and why should we care? Why would we look at one over the other? Okay? Once we understand why we consider one over the other, then we can start looking at the different types of LEDs that are available and figure out why would we use one. Okay? Because they all have their limitations. No different than any strobe has its limitations. And that's the point. It's just another type of light. Okay? So, Kenneth, Jason was very specific in saying he uses light that works in a particular situation. Yeah, and I mean, of course he does. So again, like I said, as much as I disagree with him at times in the things he teaches or the way he teaches them, if people were being as obnoxious as it sounds like they were on this live feed, I feel bad for him in Rotolight, and it just goes to show you that a lot of people need to grow up and get their heads out of the sand, because there's nobody that's going to come out with a light that's going to do everything for everybody. And the worst part of it is the people that are doing all the bitching are the people that feel they have to be able to say to their buddies, I've got the newest, coolest, greatest. They're just a bunch of stupid fanboys. And they're pissed off because their wallets can't keep up with their fanboy gas. Like, literally, that's what it comes down to. So I'm not a fan of those Rotolights because I think, like the Westcott lights, they are overpriced. I'll tell you that right up. But are they good lights? Are they functional lights? Sure. They're as good as you're able to use them. And that's the case with any light. I know photographers that own pro photos that can't light the side of a barn if their life depends on it because they don't understand lighting. I know photographers that own pro photos and they think they're doing high-speed sync the right way and they still can't overpower the sun. So, you know, it's not the gear, guys. It's understanding what do you really need and what do you really accomplish. For the geartographers that are out there, and believe me, geartographer, that's a thing. You're going to hear a lot more about geartographers. In fact, if you don't believe me, go to geartographer.com. You're going to hear a lot more about photographers that are geartographers. You're never going to make those people happy. And, you know, that's fine. But obviously, I'm not interested in those people. I'm interested in the people that are really enjoy the process of making good pictures. And Really what they enjoy is the interaction between the people that they photograph. That's what I do. That's why I take pictures. It's because I get to interact with people. I get to walk into other people's lives that I wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do so. And I get to be a part of their life for 10, 15 minutes, an hour, get to know them, experience it. And then I get to go back to my world. That's great. That's like awesome. So anyway, yeah, that's my take. So that's the kind of the 50,000 foot view, Doug, on the LED lights. A lot more detail to come, but really what I hope to do, believe it or not, is to actually support a lot of what Mr. Lanier is trying to teach with LED lights and what companies like, the Rotolight people and all of them are trying to put out there. Nobody's saying that strobes have been replaced. Nobody's saying that LEDs are better. LEDs have their place, and they have a great place, okay? So, but it's all a matter of understanding what you're trying to accomplish. Believe me, there are a lot of photographers in my Facebook group. There are a lot of photographers I see online that are using strobes, and they're not knowing what they're doing, okay? They're just not. So the point is, it's like, for those that are really hung up in the gear, I'm never really going to be able to help them. They're going to be hung up in the gear. That's what geartographers are. So anyway, gang, listen, there you go. My 1 hour TogChat. I was close. I'm only like in an hour and 25 minutes, something like that. Anyway, so listen, guys, seriously, I appreciate all the thank yous. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Sincerely do, especially on a holiday. But listen, if you like what I'm doing, I'm going to ask you two very sincere things. The one, it helps me out. I'm not going to lie. Please hit that thumbs up on the bottom of the video, okay? Just, it only takes a sec. That's the other one. The other one helps you out a lot. Please, I love it when you watch my videos. I appreciate the support, but I want you all to make me a promise. The promise is that you're not spending more time on YouTube, on my channel or anybody else's channel, and you're not spending more time on Facebook looking at other people's pictures or posting in Facebook groups about photography than you are actually taking pictures. It's time to get real with this stuff, guys. I know that those of you that are watching are passionate about photography and improving and learning. So then please go take pictures. And as I always leave you, remember these words. Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.